Welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin. Alright, so I thought I would just go over what I've been wearing and what's been going on in my life horologically. Alright, so you're looking at two watches I've been wearing recently. On the left, Tudor Hydrant, which I just had serviced probably about a month ago, and I still haven't uploaded the documents that I got when I got the watch back from the RSC service. But it's all recorded on my phone, and I'll get it up eventually for those really hardcore Tudor / Rolex fans that like all that kind of stuff. Alright, so I was wearing this watch for, well, months, and really enjoyed it. It's you're getting a lot of glare here, and it's an interesting dial in the sense that when it looks good, it looks amazing, but it can look gray at times, like when you're in the shadows, and you kind of see that right here. It looks kind of gray and muted, so it's a very temperamental dial in the sense that it doesn't reveal its beauty unless it really wants to, and that usually means you being in direct sunlight, or the angle is just perfect. So I wore this about a month, and then I decided that I wanted to wear the blue dial version, the first version I got. Now this was a naked piece, no box, no papers, came black dial, and I had it switched during this past service. And the blue dial was my first Hydrant, and I gotta say, I absolutely love the blue dial. I'm a guy that doesn't like patterns so much. If you see my clothes, you'll probably notice that I wear solid colors, and so for that reason I sort of prefer in a way the blue dial version of this, the blue dial Hydrant. I mean, if I had to choose, this is so interesting, but it's almost a little too interesting, to be honest. And the blue dial version is just such an interesting color. It's not quite purple, it's not quite blue, it's somewhere in the middle, and it can look really beautiful as well in sunlight, and it can look black in shadows, kind of like this one as well. So I started wearing that, and then something hit me, and I just thought, I really need to wear a Rolex watch, because that's the brand that really resonates with me, and you like what you like, and attraction is not a choice. And most of my Rolex watches, in fact all of them except for one, is at the bank in a safety deposit box, and so really the only one that I had was this, and so I put this on, and I just was fiending for a Rolex, so I threw this on, and boy, it was amazing. This is an older watch, and we'll get into the differences and how it made me feel in a minute, but when you put on a watch of which the brand is something that really resonates with you, it's just amazing, and I always say it's kind of nice to get away from these watches that you like so much, because it helps you appreciate them when you come back. If I wear a Rolex 24/7 for months on end, it's just, I don't appreciate it as much as when I step away from it. And that could mean going for something sort of low end that'll really make you appreciate it, but it could also mean something like this, where it's really high quality, and in fact maybe even better quality, but it's just missing the X factor. And so when I put this on, it was just like, wow, this is awesome. And it's kind of interesting because this is well, I would say it's I don't want to say a lower quality watch, but it was just a different wearing experience in the sense that it felt a lot lighter. And this is such a neat watch because it's affordable. You get that Rolex quality, of course not a Rolex movement, ETA movement, but it's a great deal. But again, it's a Tudor, it's not a Rolex, and so it doesn't have that X factor. It doesn't make the Rolex fanboy in me buzz as much. And so my head says, this is such a good value proposition, it's such a nice watch, but the heart says this is awesome. And I noticed something when I put this on, and that's the clasp. And a lot of people talk about the clasp and the tinny clasp, and let me tell you, I understand where they're coming from, because it's not just the clasp, it's the bracelet. And this has a solid link bracelet, and it's heavy, and it's solid feeling. It feels substantial. That can be good. It feels like quality, but it's heavy. And when I put this on, it was so light, and it did feel tinny. So I understand how somebody coming from a modern Rolex could say, like, I could never go back to these, but it did feel light. I gotta say, this was a lot more comfortable to have on after having this on for a month. And so really, I gotta say that I understand what people say about the clasps of the 5-digit models, and about how they're tinny, they're light. I think that's what throws people off. They're light, and I think people equate lightness with low quality. And in this case, I don't think it's low quality, but I can see how people confuse it. And which do I prefer? If I was a one watch guy, I would prefer the lightness, because again, it's just so comfortable. And I don't know if there are hollow in links or hollow middle links there. Maybe. I'm pretty sure that there's not here. This is feeling this and feeling this. Well, the head feels about the same weight, but it's the bracelet that's light. And so if I were a one watch guy, I think, and I was wearing a watch 24/7, I think I would really appreciate and go for the lightness of this. Even though if you're going back and forth, this can feel off-puttingly light. So that was the biggest reaction when I put this watch on. And I'm heading to the bank today because I want to get a GMT, and for a long time my GMTs have been in the bank along with my sub, and I'm going to start wearing them because when I started wearing the blue dialed version of this, it just felt right. And I thought, I hadn't worn that blue dialed Hydrant in months, and it feels right to wear. And I quote the Buddha, the blue shirt Buddha: watches are for wearing. He's absolutely right. It was probably bad for him to sit in a bank safe, even if I wind them once a month, which I do, because when they're out, the rotor moves, and even if you wind them and you set them in the same way, it runs in the same position, and that can cause wear. Whereas when you take it off at night, you might put it like this or face down, and it's gonna run in a different way. And of course, when it's on your wrist, it runs in different ways too. So watches are indeed for wearing, and I think it's probably better for them. So, the reason is, why not? And then that was even confirmed to me more when I started wearing this, and I was noticing, and again, the lighting is not so great in here and whatnot, but I don't know if you can see the wear. I'll try to get some footage of that now, but there's a lot of wear on this watch. Yeah, maybe this is a better angle. And I think wear on a watch is so cool. When I got this watch, it had a third-party polish. Sometimes I say it had a bad polish. Well, looking at it, it's not a bad polish at all. Not a bad polish at all, but not a RSC polish. So not ideal, but it was minty. And since then, I don't know if you can see that left lug. See some wear there. In fact, let me try to zoom in a bit, and I'll try to look at some of the wear there. You can see where there has clearly had a third-party polish from that lug. If you've seen other minty unpolished 5 digits, and you have just wear all through it, and I think it looks cool, and I love it. And so I don't have a problem with wear. And so the question is, why, Austin, do you insist on hoarding and keeping your GMTs all minty when you don't have a problem with wear? And that's a great point. I don't mind if my GMTs start to look like that. That's awesome. That's my history right there. That's travel. That's Thailand. That's Cambodia. That's the States. That's the birth of my daughter. The second daughter. I was became a Rolex guy in between the birth of my first and second daughter, and was telling my second daughter that, when I kick the bucket, this should be yours because I was wearing this when you were born. And my first daughter said, "What about me?" And I said, well, I wasn't a Rolex guy, but you get 2 cool watches too. So, but speaking of that, I was taking her to the park when I marred the upper left lug right there. And for a long time I thought, I want to have RSC polish this, just give it a RSC polish, and then I won't polish it again. Get that third party polish off it, kind of. I don't know if you never really do that. You can't put back on metal, but have RSC polish it. But now too many memories, too many scratches that have meaning to me are on it, and I would never do that. I'd never erase that. So I love when it gets down here to the clasp, and I love a well-worn Rolex watch. Maybe that's why I have an affinity for pre-owned pieces, because you can kind of see the history right there, and you can it is this mysterious history that the watch had before you came, and you can see it, and where the flip lock comes up, you can kind of see where it hits that link right there. You can kind of see that line where it hits. Anyway, so I'll take this to the bank today, and because Penny suggested that I get out the A serial, I think I will. And so if I remember correctly, the A serial, it's got a Jubilee bracelet on it and a Coke insert, and I think that's a Coke. It's either a Coke or an all black. But we'll see. I'll wind the watches today, put this in the safety deposit box, and wear that GMT for months, and I can't wait to do that. Start enjoying my watches. Hey, how novel is that? And this doesn't have a rotating bezel. That's something I really appreciated having on this. And on a side note, I'll just give you one difference I've noticed between this and the 16710, which are so similar. This is a great wind because this doesn't get in the way, but the GMT Master 2 16710s, the rotating bezel actually gets in the way of this small crown, which is a great feeling crown, but not when you have the bezel pushing over it. That's really my one and only criticism of the GMT Master 2 16710s. So winding this a little earlier, I was like, yeah, this feels great. And not the case when you've got the rotating bezel, but of course, small price to pay, because if you're like me, you can wear your watch for weeks on end and not get into the crown, and so it's much more useful to have that rotating 120 click bezel in the 16710, because of course you can use it like the sub bezel. So there you go. That's what I'm going to do, and say goodbye to this one, and I'll probably keep this one around here. Well, I might take this one in as well. Might as well to join its brethren, blue dialed Hydrant. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. Take care. Let me know what you're wearing these days. By the way, I've gone on what I usually sleep in, and it's this watch, and maybe I should make a video about why this has become my night watch. All right, well, until I do, take care. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you're wearing these days. See you next time.